What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a UK-based fighter now residing in Thailand for the moment. He is the one, the only Nick, the headhunter Chapman. Nick, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Good. You look fantastic. You literally look like $1,000,000. I mean, it's crazy to think that. I mean, you're on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine, and you look even better now. Like, how do you do it?
That was a long time ago as well, so I'm very grateful for you to say that. To be fair, I mean, I've got a fantastic life. I'm in Thailand. I've got sunshine every day. I've got smiles every day. I've got the most incredible food. I've got zero stress levels. It doesn't really get much better. I'm in the gym every single day, so life's good. Hopefully, I can battle the aging process for as long as I can.
Yeah, fights and otherwise, I mean, Thailand seems to be the place. I mean, I know Joseph Henley, a fighter and a bloke from not too far away from me. He relocated there. There have been several people over the years, and even like some of my family from Australia, not in the fight world, have migrated to Thailand because it's cheaper, the cost of living, the quality of living. My goodness, it looks absolutely beautiful where you are. Not the studio apartment where I'm at, but I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you've nailed it there. I mean, the exchange rate on the pound when I first come here. Sorry, can you see me? The exchange rate on the pound when I first come here was pretty good. So, that helped. I just sold everything and just moved here. I'm here full time now. I've got a Thai wife. But yeah, generally just the standard of living life here is just so much better than the UK. In fact, I don't even think I could survive living in the UK anymore.
Dang right. So I definitely want to get into it, man, because I mean, everybody sees the headhunter that is before us, but how did Nick Chapman get involved in combat sports?
That's a question I've been asked a lot, actually, and it wasn't really a choice. It was what you'd call a natural gravitation. I was born angry and aggressive. I've tried to fight all my life, but it's a fact. I like fighting. I always like fighting, even from when I can remember as a young boy. I've never been a bully. I've never hit a woman or anything like that. I know where to control myself. I know where the boundaries are, but I love to fight. So I started martial arts very young. MMA wasn't around then, so I did taekwondo and judo, various different things I tried. And then obviously when I saw MMA on the screen, I just instantly, bang, fell in love with it. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't start till very, very late. I was 33 when I started training MMA properly. So I didn't really get a chance to get as deep or as involved as I feel I could have done. So I, got a bit old and pursued other areas in the MMA world.
Now, I mean, it's crazy because nowadays, the words or the acronym of mixed martial arts, it's pretty commonly known, right? I mean, obviously, even despite the fact that the UFC sold for almost $4 billion, billion with a B. And despite the fact that Bellator is the second biggest organization, one championship is not too far behind, but I mean, when you started, it wasn't that, right? So, I mean, your career has kind of mirrored the sport of MMA, right? And even before it was called MMA. So, I mean, what's your take on the rise?
Do you know, that's a really good way of putting it. I never actually thought of it like that, but you're right. When I started, it was kind of a taboo subject. People were like, "Oh, I don't know about cage fighting," and it was so frustrating. People say, "What do you do?" I'd say, "I'm a mixed martial artist," and they go, "What's that?" And then I'd say, "I'm a cage fighter," and they go, "Oh, I've heard of that." And it's like, come on, all right, cage fighting sells. It's a good phrase to use, but we're not thugs, and it almost suggests that we are. So it's great now that people are starting to understand MMA. They're starting to realize that there's a lot more to it. So, but yeah, going back to your original point, when I started out, so in a very quick space of time, I managed to get a title on the biggest show at the time in the UK, and it was a big event at the time. So yeah, I think if you look at it relatively, I didn't do too bad. If I'd started if I was born maybe 10 years later, maybe I could have done even better and got onto the big show. But yeah, yeah, it's a good way of looking at it.
Now, I think it's amazing that you said cage fighter with such an eloquent accent, right? And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. But the fact that the people that you were telling also have similar accents, so I just think it's bloody brilliant, you know?
Yeah. That was a poor attempt of a British accent, but I like the humor.
Now that initial like Taekwondo background, I mean, did you feel more comfortable during the course of your career, doing stand up wars, or did you gravitate like eventually most mixed martial artists do? I mean, famously Pat Barry, kickboxer, he was just like, you know what? I'm like top 10 in the world and I don't like this grappling thing. So I'm just going to retire. And then the rest of my fights I'm going to do in glory, and then ended up, essentially being the head coach of his soon to be wife, Rose Namajunas. And, basically they went to the UFC strawweight gold with that system. Right. But I mean, as somebody that trained as a striker, first and foremost, did you understand the grappling aspect of it?
Do you know, I love that question as well. That's brilliant. Okay, so I started Taekwondo. I did Taekwondo for like 6 years. I got pretty good at it. I was always doing grappling alongside of that. But then what happened is I had a nasty car crash and shattered my femur, completely busted it up. So I was out of action for 2 years. I was on crutches for like a year and just over a year. And it took me a while to come back in. And when I finally got back to the sport, my flexibility had gone in my hip completely. So I started then reverting towards the grappling more. So when I started my MMA career, I was actually more of a grappler. I had striking, but I was in the process of changing it from Taekwondo to more Muay Thai and a K1 base, which I think is brilliant for MMA. So I was working hard on it, but I won my early fights with grappling and jiu-jitsu. But then what happened is I started to realize I wanted to get more knockout. I wanted to start striking more. So I started working really hard on my striking. So near the middle of my career, you can see me start to unload some strikes. And I got actually really good and never got a chance to fully show my striking. And I spent so much time on it. And even to this day, it's the only thing I regret is that I never got a chance to show my striking because, my previous fights, it was all about grappling. It wasn't really striking tactics, if you like. But so it changed. I mean, as mixed martial arts are, I realized where my weaknesses were and I worked on them so hard they become my strengths, and I had to go back to what were my strengths to bring them up to bring my strengths again, if you know what I mean. It was a constant battle. But yeah, good question.
So, I mean, that's amazing that you had some iteration of both grappling and striking. We see it in like Sage Northcutt where you kind of have, a striking discipline, and then you kind of evolve. And then once that kind of pivot turns to like, I'm going to be a mixed martial arts fighter, like, let me start trying to put it all together. But you had some of the base work, the groundwork on both. So all you had to do is pick up a little bit more technique. And obviously, I mean, when you train, you could never get too much technique. But I mean, I love the fact that you had a base knowledge of both from the onset.
Yeah, that's a really good. And I had a base, and I always found, as much as I loved to strike, I always found I was naturally good at grappling. Even when I was a kid, I'd be grappling in tournaments, judo tournaments, guys much bigger, much older than me, and even higher belts, because I just manhandled the kids. I think I was born strong, like naturally strong, and my strength become pivotal in my wins. I could manhandle people, even the bigger guys in my weight class, and that helped. I come from a background of powerlifting for I think 3 years, where I was deadlifting 285 kilos, squatting well over 200. It was a great base to have to build the strength, and then move into the more specifics to be an athlete for MMA. So I think because of the strength, the grappling helped, but I wasn't. I was pretty good at the basics. The things I knew well. Other things, I didn't focus so much on trying to learn all these advanced techniques. I just wanted to know what I needed to know to win a specific fight. So that's what I did. I just focused on the basics, the fundamentals, and I made sure I was really good at them so I could win the fight.
Man, that's amazing. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Now, I mean, over the course of your career, I mean, was there a particular moment where you kind of felt like maybe I'm gonna give a little bit more attention to the striking, or maybe a little bit more attention to the grappling, or
Mm.
something that just felt right, or a particular opponent that you were matched up with where you're like, oh man, the grappling is going to take over. Yes, the striking
Yeah,
is going to come into play, but like, no,
yeah,
I'm going to grapple here, or I'm going to strike here versus grappling. Like, was there a
yeah.
point where one edged out the other?
Absolutely, my man. Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent many years managing fighters, cornering fighters, and looking at their opponents. Now, I went to university and studied sports and exercise science, and it taught me to analyze things, break down everything. I'm not just talking about the technique, even the physical attributes, and talking about the psychology of fighters as well. And I'd spend hours and hours studying my opponents before fights, and I would literally only do what was going to benefit me in that specific fight against a specific fighter. So if I had a 3-month camp, and bearing in mind I was on camps for 3 months, then 2 weeks off after a fight, then straight back into camp, 2 weeks off, other than a few injuries which postponed things. But I was pretty much full time in training camps preparing for a fighter, and it was always a specific fighter as well. So if I had a judo guy coming over from France, for example, which one time I did, I spent the entire camp. I worked on the basics of MMA as well, but there was specifics about his actual style that I needed to work on, and little things like just blocking the hip when he comes in for the hip throws, just how to block that hip. So I'd get the top judo coach from the army in England, he'd come and help me. And so every single fight was specific to the opponent, which is why I hated it when it happens, but when an opponent pulls out and they throw in a replacement last minute, it throws me completely off. I mean, you've got to fight, you fight, but yeah, every single camp was specific to an opponent.
Damn, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now I got to ask, right? As a consummate judoka, what was your favorite move?
Wow, favorite move in judo. Do you know? In actual fact, do you know the scarf hold on the ground that we don't see much in MMA? Honestly, I absolutely loved it, because from the scarf, as long as I've got the arm in, I can hook my thigh. You could there's arm locks and things you could get from there. There's so much you can do. But I was more fascinated about the anti-judo as opposed to the actual judo itself, because I mean, a lot of the times, if I've got a guy that's got judo background, I'm really analysing how to stop him from taking me down. So the thing that fascinated me most about judo is if you can stop their hip, you can stop their takedown. Simple. It was almost like a eureka moment when my coach said, that's all we've got to do. We just got to stop that hip coming in. Okay, it's not as easy to read it, how fast these guys can be, but it was all about stopping them hips. And that was the thing I took away from judo the most, other than the scarf hold on the ground. I absolutely loved that. But remember, I'm an MMA guy, so I only ever did martial arts that would the bits of the martial arts that would only ever benefit me for MMA. And my judo coaches, I don't think they like me very much for that reason, because I wasn't there to do jiu-jitsu. So I was there to learn how to do MMA. I didn't want to learn jiu-jitsu. I wanted to learn MMA. So I'm a jack of all trades, not master at none. But yeah, that's a good question as well. I like that.
All right. Well, no, I love that. I absolutely love that. And you absolutely have to be a Renaissance man. You have to be a jack of all trade, or especially now in 2020, a Jill of all trades in the instances of women's mixed martial arts. So I'm actually gonna dial it back. What is your favorite strike? And we're not limiting it just to a strike, but we're going with kicks as well. We're going with combos, something that when you hit the bag, it's money. That bang, if I land this on somebody, guess what? Night, they're going out. What was your favorite strike or combo?
Dude, I've said this to you now maybe 3 or 4 times, but that's another great question. I absolutely love that question. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you and tell you what my favorite strike is, it without a doubt is the headbutt. Obviously, we're not allowed to use that in MMA. You can use it in left way, which I referee on in Myanmar recently. But if I can't use the head, which is always my first choice, I love it. It's just a straight right. I absolutely love it. I just sit into it, just fold the hips through, and just put that fist straight through. And if you can catch it right, I think it's unstoppable. I love it. So yeah, purely and simply just a straight right. But don't get me wrong, I do Muay Thai 3 days a week here as well. I love the elbow strikes. I love the knee strikes. I've won fights with elbows. I've won fights with knees. So yeah, I mean, anything that really just causes damage, I like to see blood. Once I see blood, I get a bit excited. So simple answer, headbutt. If I can't use a headbutt, it's a straight right. But I love elbows and knees.
Well, I mean, that's not. I mean, it's in some circles, that would be kind of a underhanded tactic or whatever. But I mean, here's the thing. So jiu-jitsu, much like judo, aren't the only grappling arts, right?
Yeah.
Something that, I mean, is from your home country. Something along the lines of British catch wrestling from Wigan, England, right? So a lot of that is head, where you can, if you can grind your head into somebody's nose or armpit or whatever and just feel uncomfortable, guess what? Where the head goes, the body will follow, no matter if you strike, no matter if you grapple, right?
Yeah.
So it's right. Perfect.
I love that. Where the head goes, the body follows. I've been saying that to my fighters for years. And the head control in the cage, like if I'm working even in a clinch, 50-50, if I'm pressuring them against the cage, I'll just drive my head up into their chin. You can almost render them helpless if you push enough pressure. But that's not the type of headbutt I'm talking about. I'm talking about a leverage. Boom, that's a headbutt. But yeah, the head's powerful, even on the floor. I mean, I've used it in my wrestling techniques many times.
I mean, literally smashing, because that's all that happens.
Come on. I mean, even the crowd loved that shit. Yeah, I used to see two of my fights. One was just smashing someone to a pulp with elbows. Another one was just smashing someone to a pulp with knees. People loved that shit. I love that shit. You love that shit, yeah. There we go.
But really, I mean, you're not wrong, because this, and your knee, I mean, it's pretty much like the same kind of density, if not more so, So I think if you can use one, why not the other?
Yeah, I was heartbroken when they removed headbutts in the UFC, because I was actually in the process of getting myself ready. I wanted to fight. I wanted to start MMA, and I saw the very early days of the UFC, and they were headbutting. I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. And then by the time I finally got around to it, they'd taken the headbutts out, but hey, it didn't stop me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the commissions. I mean, what is it? The 9 to 12 elbows, or whatever kind of
12
clock
kicks.
Circular. Yeah,
the straight down you're talking about. Yeah,
right.
I've removed that in UFC, but not in one championship. It's legal.
Yeah, but it's I get in one instance where, like, okay, this is like you shouldn't do at all, but then there's another kind of school of thought where, like, I mean, if I can choke a person unconscious, I mean, same kind of deal,
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course, people love to see that as well. In actual fact, I say that, but I think the UFC have actually brought back in the 12 to 6 elbow, haven't they, on the ground from guard position? Yeah, but yeah, you're right. People love to see people go to sleep as well. I mean, but for me, I mean, if you're going to ask me what I prefer, it's definitely smashing.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now, I mean, obviously, I mean, as tenured as a martial artist, as a mixed martial artist as you are, you got to have some fun moments, just whether it be in training, in the ring, places you fought, that just particularly stands out. What would that be to you?
Wow. Actually, if you can see some of the videos, I'm actually laughing and smiling in some of my fights. I can remember one fight. I had this guy who was a big tough wrestler, and everyone thought I was a massive underdog. He'd come in at me exactly as I knew he was going to. I just underhooked, switched, turned him around, pressed him against the fence, and I felt him like this big strong guy. He felt weak, like weak as a kitten. And I remember I had him pressed against the fence. I'd already given him a couple of knees in the face, and I just looked over his shoulder, and there was a whole crowd. It was all my people there, and dude, I just started laughing. I loved it. I was laughing. That was a great moment for me. I think it's happened to me many times in the fights. The other one I won with elbows. I had him on the floor, and I just knew he was fucked. I just thought, it's time to open up. And I started raining elbows, and I was looking at the crowd, and they were all screaming. I just started laughing again. This was hilarious. I thought, this is great. This guy's like just putty in my hands. But I think for me, the most excitement, the most fun is the lead up to the fight. I enjoy the press conferences. I enjoy the weigh-ins. I love the walk to the cage, and nothing I love more than standing in front of my opponent in the cage, or just about to smash each other's faces in. I actually had the words "fuck you" written on my gum shield, because if there's one thing I wanted to say to the dude I'm about to fight, no matter what happens, is just fuck you, you know? I didn't want nothing more to say to him. Nothing. Don't want to be his friend. Just wanted to tell him to fuck you. So I had it written on my gum shield, and before the fight, I'd stand there in the middle of the cage, I'd just smile at them and watch them read the words and see how they reacted. And I used to like watching their reactions. It's a lot of fun. You'd be surprised. Some guys read it and it's like, I think these guys mad, and other guys read it and start laughing. But they read it and they start to get like, you see a reaction from them pretty quickly. And I love that. That was fun.
Oh man, that's an indelible memory for sure, you know. And then the elation that happens when that's the thing that ended it, you know. And it's like, I mean, it can be freak to some, but you know, it's just like, well, I mean, if you can utilize whatever you've got, why not the elbow? And then, you know, being able to train it and, you know, throw jabs. I mean, it's an oblong thing, almost like, you know, any type of boxing type of footwork, or you know, any type of striking discipline footwork, you know, you're kind of punching with one hand and then stepping off with the other. It's completely whatever. But then when you hit it, oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's a showstopper. You're right about the footwork as well, because I'm thinking about the Western boxing I've done, and then you think about the Muay Thai where the elbows are used a lot, and it's a very different. You could get off elbow strikes with the footwork from boxing, but it's difficult. You have to try and adapt, and I think this is what I think a lot of people, that unless they've trained, they don't understand these things. It's very intricate, but we're kind of, because we take techniques from all these different martial arts, we're kind of left to our own devices to an extent on how to piece them together. And at the moment, because the sport's still evolving, this is what differentiates a good fighter to a not so good fighter. You've probably heard of fight IQ. I mean, that encompasses a lot of different ideas, but you know, that's one of the aspects that makes a fighter good, is how smart they are, how quickly they can take a technique, adapt it and make it their own and make it effective in a fight, but at the same time be ready to transition from wrestling to grappling to striking. You know, I just love it. I think it's great.
For sure. My goodness. Yeah. And again, it's some of the complexities that I absolutely love about the sport, because like, you can never be totally astute. You can't be, you know, equipped with everything. There's certain things that you're going to do. And if you might think that you're at the top of the echelon for striking, there's a grappling thing that happens. And if you think you've had a certain degree of mastery of both, which again, will probably never happen, there's like a cardio thing that you could do, like a higher elevation that you could run, or a triathlon that you could do. And it's just ever evolving, you know?
Yeah, that's great. And that's one of the things that absolutely fascinates me about it as well. I studied strength conditioning. I've studied sports and exercise science. I've studied psychology of sport, and all these different things, they contribute to success. And it's such an intricate, in-depth subject. And like you say, is just no end to the learning and the involving. But there's always like a what if scenario. If I get good at this, what if they are good at that? I try and explain it in a very basic term to new fighters, that, you know, this is a bit like paper, scissors, stone. So you've got grappling, which is your jiu-jitsu mainly. You've got striking, which could be boxing or Muay Thai or kickboxing. But then you've got the wrestling, and that's like, yeah, it depends on the strategies of the other fighter and how they respond to your strategy. It's fascinating stuff. Love it.
I think it's fantastic, though. But again, you know, you were able to have the career that you did, and I mean, a large part, you know, open up opportunities for yourself, like the magazine covers and everything, and kind of, you know, especially nowadays where, you know, I mean, Jimmy Smith is, you know, by Joe Rogan standard, is like the number one analysis in all of MMA. And if he could only last a year in the UFC because they wanted former fighters that have been through it. And again, fighter opportunities are even more plentiful. I just saw like the Tax Collector movie with Shia LaBeouf, and Brian Ortega's in it. But you kind of, you know, saw through it that, like, you know, yes, I've put so much time in this, so much effort, so much of my life into it, but I have to look for opportunities outside of it, or use this as a catalyst to propel me for the next piece of my life and career. So I think it's amazing. You're, I mean, in many respects, you're a pioneer.
Thank you very much, man. That's very kind of you to say that. I was very lucky. I was born with its obsessive tendencies. If I'm involved in something, I have to know about it. It's not just good enough someone telling me, yeah, but just do this. I need to know why I'm doing this. I need the underpinning knowledge, and I have such a thirst for it that I will wake up at 2 a.m. and I have to, and I'll study till 7 o'clock in the morning, all through the night, and I'll do it every single day. I never stop, and haven't stopped since I can remember. Study. And my dad brought me up to be an entrepreneur, a businessman, where I didn't rely on other people, so I managed my own career. But I was also very good at art. I went to art school, art college, art and design, graphic design, and I learned about branding as well. And then by the time I got to my fight career, I realized quite quickly that, you know, it's not just about fighting, man. You know, the greatest fighters in the world are going nowhere if they can't relate to the media. It's not happening, bro. So I was very lucky. I generated a massive amount of interest in a very short space of time. I had TV things going on. I had big sponsorships. I negotiated sponsorships with Hammer Strength and Life Fitness, Under Armour at one time. That fell through due to travel restrictions. But there's so many things I did that other fighters don't do, and I see some really talented guys coming through, but they just got no idea about how to manage their social media, the media, you know, opportunities that are staring them in the face, sponsorships that just don't have any idea. So I was kind of lucky. I was blessed with the ability to understand branding and business. And yeah, and today I'm refereeing on one championship. I've got other things going on in the fight game. I've got connections all around the world, which have been really helpful. But dude, like, I've got options. This is a good thing. I've got options. I can go anywhere. I've got other business things I'm working on, and they provide me with a good standard of living. So I'm very lucky to have choices. But what you've just said is something that really resonates with me, because other fighters don't have so many choices. So they have to think about their career, and they have to think about what they're going to do after their career. So I'm actually in the process of writing up a whole program that's going to be available online soon for fighters to learn how to build a brand, to learn how to, you know, resonate and integrate or manage their fan base, how to get sponsorships, and what to do with their life after their fight career, but to start doing things now to make sure that they've got options after their fight career. So yes, that's just a really good point you make there. Interesting.
No, but I love it, especially in a time like this where, I mean, people, I mean, the world over have been, you know, hey, I have this job. Well, that job gets taken away. Yes, I have this education. I go to this place to learn and everything, and that gets taken away, right? So people have, you know, had to redefine themselves in ways that they'd never imagined to before this whole situation. But again, you know, much like you, hopefully we could all kind of harness each other and harness our own dreams into something that would propel us to the next phase of our career. Because I mean, if we put 8, 10, 12 hours a week, 40 hours a week here in the US for the most part, or and more than that into somebody else's dream, chances are the company that you're working for, the service that you provide, that's somebody else's dream, and that person is long and gone, and what you're doing is basically padding the pockets of their heirs that had nothing to do with the original concept in the very beginning. But if you're taking that amount of time, you could give yourself 10 minutes. If you want to start a podcast, if you want to, you know, learn guitar, whatever it is, because again, what you have right now may not be there forever. But if you, much like Nick did, much like the headhunter did, I mean, to find a way to evolve beyond your circumstance. And again, regardless of what's going on around you, you can control you and your destiny, you know, and maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's whatever, but you have the power to do it. We all have the power to do it. We just have to kind of believe in ourselves in the way that Nick did.
Absolutely, bro. Belief is everything. You know, if you don't believe in yourself, then it's a stumbling block from the start. And it drives me mad because I see so many people that I had fighters come to me all the time, and they had much bigger records than me. They're on, you know, they're much more potential athletically, but they come to me and say, dude, how have you managed to managed to get your name out there so far, so quickly? I say, look, sit down and I'll tell you all about it. But then you see them switching off because they're like, this sounds like hard work. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I honestly believe that, you know, fighters can achieve pretty much anything they want if they put their minds to it. I mean, in the media sense, but don't think it's easy. Nothing in life worth having comes easy. And if anyone tells you different, please point them in my direction, because I'd love to know where I went wrong, because I worked my butt off for years in every area. I was in the gym 5-6 hours a day. When I'm not in the gym, every single person that I meet is a potential opportunity to lead me towards something else. So I always made sure I acted in a good way. I was respectful, I was reliable, I was professional. And I had my thing that went on in the cage. I was a brute, an animal, whatever you want to call it, fine. But that was my thing. But yeah, I always try to bring more opportunities to guys. So the way I see it now is guys, it's time to get paid. You know, you're working your ass off. You put your life on the line to an extent. You're risking your body. And
no, 100%. And again, now more so than any other
ain't
time
getting
before.
paid enough for that. I'm back.
No, 100%. And again, you know, now more so than any time before, you know, you have to kind of utilize yourself and your resources, and you see where that journey will take you. It's going to be just as hard than anything, or even harder than anything else that you've done this up to this point. But again, you're worth it, you know? So that's kind of it. That's the golden rule, you know? But
yeah.
I mean, Nick, there's been so many people that have supported you along the way, you know, whether it be sponsors, your family, you know. So, I mean, there's been so many people that have led to your success, you know. I definitely want you to take time and shout them out. So the floor is yours, my man.
Wow. Thank you very much. And I'm you know, it means a lot that you actually understand and appreciate that, because you see these fighters, they're all doing well, but there's so much more that goes into these guys. You know, over the years, I couldn't possibly even begin to thank people enough. I had the best fan base. Everyone that followed me to my fights, hundreds and hundreds of people, never let me down. They had belief in me and they kept driving me forward. So any one of you guys, if you're watching this, that come to my fights, bought a ticket, or even just sent me a message on Facebook to say, hey, good work, well done, then you have my utmost respect, and I love you guys for that. My family were always behind me over the years. I had I had a wife a few years ago. She's a great woman. We're separated now, but she was very supportive for me. So I've always got time and respect for her. Then of course, sponsors, man. Wow. I mean, I had maybe 5 sponsors per fight, and I had different sponsors every time. I never stuck with the same sponsor. I always done it fight by fight, because for me, it's quite easy to find them, and it just worked out more lucrative for me. That hey, I'm back. I think the biggest sponsor though was Hammer Strength and Life Fitness in the UK. I mean, they really helped me. A wonderful woman called Liz Morgan. Her name's Liz Morgan now. She was amazing. She gave me some amazing opportunities through Hammer Strength. But the list goes on, bro. My coaches, you know, my training partners. Wow, how could I even forget them? Terry Brazier was one of the best training partners I had. Tolly Plested, Dean Singer, Solomon Raja. Dude, it goes on and on and on. Ollie Thompson was like just the best, one of the best training partners I ever had. Dude, I could go on forever. And guy, if I've forgotten anyone or not mentioned anyone, please forgive me. But you know, everyone's been amazing in my journey. Even right up to today, you know, there's guys in one championship. A guy called Bashir Ahmed, he's been amazing. He got me an opportunity on one to do some refereeing. He's been so good coaching me through the process. And, you know, man, I could go on forever. Anyone who's ever helped me, thank you, because honestly, it means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You know who you are. You know who you are. If you were there, you know. You know. Absolutely. Well, for those who haven't already followed Nick, the headhunter, Chapman, where can they find you on social media, my man?
Well, I'm on everywhere now. I mean, my website's gone down where I had everything in one place. But I'm on Facebook as Nick Headhunter Chapman. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I've kind of laid low on it for a few years. I retired from fighting maybe 6 years ago now, so I've been laying low. But I'm about to start really pushing the whole social media thing up again, because I'm about to launch my course, Get Fight Sponsored, which is going to teach people how to get sponsorships as a fighter, also how to build a brand. I guarantee you will get sponsored if you follow my plan. So that's all going to start happening on social media now. So if anyone wants to look into that, that'd be amazing. Yeah, maybe we could do a special rate for anyone that's coming through yourself. I just want to help the fighters. It's time to get paid, guys. You're working your butts off in the gym, and it's time to get paid. And if you think purses are going to pay you, you're wrong. You should be earning 5 times more in sponsorship deals than you will in any purse, and that's a fact. And I can even prove that. So. Long answer, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
1000%, 1000%. Nick, it's been an honor and privilege to get you here. I mean, you're literally live from Thailand right now and taking
Yeah,
time out of your day, your busy schedule to chat here with us here at According to Wood. So I can't thank you enough, my man. But
pleasure.
you guys, thank you guys for joining us. This has been According to Woods with Nick, the headhunter Chapman, and we are out. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You know you want to. Just hit the button, get the notifications. But
Yeah.
bye.